Hello everyone, this video is about a query on Discord which asked to use random flow to recreate panel cut designs on bunch of sci-fi towers made by some artists, and there are of course ways that you can do this. And what is purely with randomization? Now with randomization using random flow, you can't exactly copy what the artist did because especially if they made that using painting or overpaint. Overpaint meaning he modeled it manually using 3D, and then the extra designs he did in a 2D software by painting over the 3D model. So but you can get the quote unquote look of that art using randomization, but not 100% copy it, because that is of course somebody's art style, and you need some really advanced algorithm for that. Okay, so random panels, and we're going to use square 100% angle. Okay, so now this looks exactly like the not exactly, but close to the picture that was sent in Discord. Okay, so now all we have to do is play around. The UI is different, by the way, but the parameters are still the same. This is for the next update. So you can see that it's much easier to find the seed values. They're now under each collapsible section. So you don't have to look for for example, in the panel, the main seed value. You don't have to look for it basically before it was under panel size. So you can just locate the panel section and then go in the last section of that collapsible panel, and you will see the seed parameter there. So it's much easier. We have extrude, subdivision, panel, solver. So in the next update, these parameters will be much easier to see and target with the mouse. Okay. So what you need to play around with is just with subdivision. Be careful in using too much, you might see the subdivision banding. So what this basically does is create increased topology for the source mesh to basically have the randomizer create more details based on those increased number of faces. So let's just try one subdivision from the based on the topology of the source mesh. And in panel size, the original picture has more relaxed areas, or much more relaxed in detail than this one. So what we're going to do is increase the maximum number of panel size. So something like 50. So what this basically means is the minimum number of faces that a panel island or face group would have, like this one here, should be one face, or could be one face, and the maximum number a panel island could have is approximately 50 faces. 50 faces. Okay, and you play around with this, and also with the subdivision, and based on the picture, I think there's no need to actually increase this. The panel cuts in the design were flat, so let's leave this alone. If you want to break the profile of the shape, you can just increase this. And as you can see with the extrusion, you have basically created a more 3D look because we have extruded the shapes. 0.5. Okay, so if you want to make the cuts thinner or smaller, you go around to thickness, and you also can also toggle the, since this is flat and we're basically using the same depth for every panel islands, you can just toggle the uniform depth toggle here. Let's see, let's make this more subtle. Okay, and then you can play around with the panel seed. Then you get something that you like. Okay, so something like this. And then if you want to add more detail, you can select the result that is original, that will be by default parented to the source mesh, by the way. So if you move the source mesh, the randomized mesh will also move with it. And you can also toggle this behavior off using the uh, or by setting on off the parent to source toggle. Okay, so selecting the randomized result, uh, we can use the pre-select add-on to select uh, the top faces easier. So you can download pre-select add-on for free in my Patreon. You just have to become a free member. And there's a link to the online documentation in the uh, post post description. Okay, so this face here, and you can then reuse the same random operation, and let's try and increase the subdivision, and then you can play around with the panel size. Let's set this to something like 80, and then play around with the randomization some more. Okay, now we still have the source mesh selected. We can press Ctrl Shift A to delete the last selected faces, then select another one. And just reuse the oh okay, let's use, I think we used subdivision one the last time, and also play around with the panel size. Here we go. So this allows us to select only the top faces and avoid selecting the thin side faces. And when you use the pre-select commands, you can press F9 to, of course, affect the thickness uh, of the selection, of how the selection expands and is limited by the sharp edges. Okay, so run the balance again, increase the resolution and 80. So a larger panel size means more relaxed or larger panel islands. So in turn it creates more relaxed details, and smaller panel size means more smaller panel islands and therefore more detail and much busier surfaces. Something like 50. Okay, there we go. So we now have the cube R panel, which is the original randomized mesh from before, parented to the source mesh. Then we layered a bunch of other randomization on top of the result, original result, which is the cube R panel. So when we move cube R panel, the of course the other randomization is paired to it, and they also move with it. Okay. So that is one way that you can do it. Another way is to do the randomization part of the way, and then later, if you have panel cutter, then you can manually control which edges are being um, used to cut the mesh. But this way, in this method, the process will be destructive. So in order to avoid destroying the source mesh, you can just So for example, let's duplicate the source mesh. So for example, if you have this as your base, you can just create a backup of that by duplicating it and then setting it up in one side, or placing it on one side of the preview part and then working on the copy. Okay. So this you have to go to edit mode and using random panels, basically the same thing. We need to figure out the initial design or come up with the initial design. So for example, this one here. And if we toggle on mark sharp only, remember this works only in edit mode. And if you toggle mark sharp only, then uh, the source mesh will then use the settings that you have here, but instead of the faces being cut, you will they will in turn be marked as sharp. Okay, and then you can turn this marked sharp edges into panel cuts using um, panel cutter, selecting everything, panel cut, and using inset. There you go, and then you can control the um, thickness and also the depth of the panel cut. There you go. So, so this way you can add or subtract the mark sharp edges to control the way that the to control the look of the design. So mark sharp here, for example, and then here mark sharp, but only the boundary. So basically, you can subtract or add sharp, and try and make one or the other on the top side. And then once you're finished, you can either select a sharp edge or mark sharp edge and select similar using Shift plus G. Select similar by sharpness. It selects all the mark sharp edges. Then using panel cut, use bevel. Now this doesn't create raised surfaces. It creates debossed surface, or yeah, it basically cuts into the mesh. And when using insets, it's a different process. You have to select all the faces that encompasses or uh, covers all the marked edges within those selected faces, and then you can use inset. Using inset, this creates raised faces like the ones in random flow. So Final Cut, inset, and then you can control the depth and the thickness. It all smooth and something like 90 degrees. No. Oh, this one here. It's been kept clear sharp. There we go. So that's how you can do it using the using full randomization with random flow, and parts half randomization using random flow and panel cutter. So you can get like close to the design of what the artist is doing, but of course, they have their own art style, and the randomization can't really copy that, but you can get close to it by, of course, playing around with the settings, or using the randomization as a base, where you can um, put your own design, like half and half. Okay, so part randomization, part your own thing, to really get close to the design of the artist. You're using randomization because you have to save time, but then you can use that as reference, or a starting base, like I said, to uh, make the process work faster. Okay, so that is it for this video. And if you have any questions, just the comment section below or the links in the description. If you have these add-ons, go to the online documentation, and there's a link there for the support. The support link, you can see the invite in the Discord. You can go there and join the community, and you can ask or query about the problems you're having with add-ons, or if you have any other questions. Okay, so it's much better than emailing me. We're using the shop emails because you can't really share pictures or videos there. So it's much better for me to uh, answer questions using the Discord community. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.